What if I told you the biggest battles aren't out there in the world? They're the ones that nobody sees. The ones fought inside our own heads. And here's the crazy part. Most of the things that we're afraid of never actually happen. But the weight of carrying them still crushes us. Every day people wake up, crack a smile, make the small talk, while secretly wondering how they're going to make it through the next 24 hours. We applaud courage when it comes to a battlefield or on a sports pitch. But what about the quiet courage it takes just to get out of bed, to walk into work, to sit through a meal, when our own mind is your loudest enemy? Silence is what's killing us, not weakness, not failure, the silence. So here's the question. If the fear isn't real, why do we still let it run our lives? And what would it look like if we finally just said it out loud? Like me this morning, my day started with the usual mental list. Will my kids be okay at school? Are the numbers going to add up this month? I promised myself I'd go to the gym, but I was tired and I've been comfort eating. Work's going well, but you get the normal worries with work, those little things you can't untangle. Not a breakdown, but just heavy stuff. And if you've lived with depression before, you know how quickly a bit heavy can tip into too much. On the drive to the gym, I put on Charity Gales Because of Jesus, the hymn. There's a line in there about hope reaching the broken, freedom finding the weary. It didn't fix everything, but it just gave me that reminder. The storm isn't the whole sky. Now here's something that stuck with me. Psychologists reckon around 85% of things that we worry about never actually happen. But our brains don't care. They run the disaster drills anyway. And guess what? Our bodies pay the price. The tight chest, the racing thoughts, sleep gone. And when the silent gets added on top of that, and I have to say, especially for men, the weight multiplies. So what do people do to push back? How do people move through this? Well, I heard someone say that they swear by naming the problem. So rather than just labeling it, saying, oh, I'm stressed today, they say something like, I'm scared about money, or I feel like I'm worried about my son, my daughter. He said, once you pin that label on, the fog isn't endless anymore. And my wife's friend messaged me one after one of my videos and said that her therapist taught her about breathing like it's maths. 4 in, hold for 4 seconds, out for 6 seconds. And she uses this like in supermarket queues before work calls or, before the spiral starts. And it buys her just that 10 seconds of peace. A friend in recovery keeps it painfully small. Instead of fix my whole life, he asks what's one thing that I can do in the next hour to make my life easier? May that be answering the email or answering the post or picking up the phone. It sounds tiny, but that's one point. That's one thing off the list. It's doable. And I watch a lot of social media and it's really interesting. And, somebody said, I just get on with it. I don't need to feel motivated. Just lace my trainers up. And he walks around the block and he says, the body leads and then the brain follows. Not always that easy. And you hear things like, just replace the coffee with water. Stop the doom scrolling until midnight. Start flipping all these things on its head. Don't watch the news after 9. He said, one of the things that really stick with me is the boring stuff turned out to be the most powerful. And I actually really resonates with me. The boring stuff is the most powerful. And some people just go through the process and white knuckle it. And therapy helps untangle. And, medicines give you the margin. But none of this is weakness. He said some of this is just common sense. So professional help, I would advise anyone to go to professional help if that's what you're feeling. I mean, the idea to this is that just text someone as well. Some people say that if you can manage to talk to somebody in the same situation, if you can help people, help them and reach out to them and find strength in that giving, may that be a little job in the community, May that be knocking on your neighbour's door saying, "You're going on holiday soon, I'll bring your bin in." Or, "Can I cut your hedge when I do my hedge?" Those little bits of act of kindness can actually mean self-gratification, self-worth. They're not going to take everything away, but might help the pain shrink, because pain shrinks when purpose walks in. And I've lost count how many times I've been told, that people just talk to themselves in the car, or when they're in the gym, when no one's around, they just say, "This feeling isn't real, but it's not forever," or "This feeling's for real, it's not forever," or "I've survived 100% of my worst days. I can do the next right thing." It's awkward at first, of course it is, but then it becomes an armour. It becomes a bit of a protection. And for many, faith slips in gently. You don't want to boil the ocean with prayers, but one small cry to God is what we can do, and guess what? He's there to help. Or a worship song in the background while they drive. It's not magic, it's just presence. Just think of someone you might know that's gone quiet. Someone who jokes a bit too hard. Someone who always says they're fine. Here's the message. People keep telling me it works. Random check-ins to people. How do you feel? No pressure. I've got time if you need me. It's not a speech, but guess what? It's a door, and those doors can save lives. If you're in the thick of it yourself, hear this. You're not broken for struggling. You're not weak for asking, and you're definitely not alone. Struggle doesn't always mean failure. Sometimes it means growth. Think about it. When your muscle shakes when it's underweight, they're not breaking down, they're building strength. When nerves fire, before an interview or on a first date, or even when your kid's first day at school, that nervousness isn't weakness. It's proof that you care. That something matters enough to stir you up inside. And guess what? The same goes for your mind. The fact that you feel the weight means you're alive, you're engaged, you're human. And every time you face it, even when you wobble, you grow that little bit stronger. Your feelings are real, but they don't define you. Your setbacks are real, but they don't own your future. Every dark cloud you've pushed through has taught you something about resilience. Every anxious morning you've survived is evidence you can survive tomorrow too. So don't just see the battle as pain. See it as proof of your courage. See it as training for who you are becoming. See it as shaping you into something deeper, kinder, stronger than you ever thought possible. So here's your reminder. Nervousness can be energy waiting to be redirected. Struggle can be the soil where growth takes root. And silence, it doesn't have to have that last word. Try one thing. Name one feeling. Take one slow breath. Do one small kind act of kindness. Send that one message. The storm is not the whole sky. The struggle is not the end of your story. And even here, especially here, you are becoming more than you were yesterday. Keep going, keep speaking, keep praying, keep growing. There is always room on the pew. Remember, you are loved.